Hey, it's 12 noon on Wednesday, which means it's time for this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. My name is John Charisma. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here every Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern Time, to help you understand the technical side of the real estate industry. And one of our most popular questions is, what is it that real estate agents do and how much money is it that they make? So if you've been considering a career in real estate and you're wondering, well, how much money can I make? How do I even make money? Am I selling homes? Am I buying homes? What is it that you're doing as a real estate professional? This show today is for you. We're going to be talking about who employs you in the real estate world and how it is that you get paid, how much it is you get paid. So by the end of this episode, you'll understand how to calculate these numbers so you can calculate your earning potential. So that's what we're talking about today. This show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. I'm John Charisma. You're watching Ask the Instructor.
You are watching Ask the Instructor. Absorb the knowledge. Become the expert.
Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. My name is John Charisma. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate every Friday and Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern Time. We're live streaming here, and what we're doing today is talking about getting paid, aka commission. This is typically how you're paid for almost all of your services in real estate, or at least the big paydays. Maybe there's some other ways you could earn some odds and ends income in real estate, but commission is really the main pay. Now, first and foremost, what we got to talk about is what it is that you're doing in real estate. So there's a term called brokerage. Now, a lot of times when we mention this word brokerage, you're thinking of a place. And you're not wrong that a brokerage is a place, but that's really a brokerage office. Really, this term brokerage means bringing together buyers and sellers. There are also owners and renters, also landlords and tenants. We're bringing them together, though. We're not the seller, we're not the buyer, we're not the landlord, we're not the tenant. We're just bringing these people together, and we're getting paid for that action of bringing these people together. So that's what we're doing. We're brokering deals. We're brokering deals. And most of this is probably done, I would say, in the highest volume of transactions, at least, is in residential sales. And so that's what we're going to talk about. But your real estate license would also work in commercial and industrial, agricultural, as well as for business brokerage as well. You need a Florida real estate license in order to broker business sales. So again, you're not the buyer, you're not the seller, you're the middleman bringing these people together. Now, how is it that you actually get paid in real estate? What is it that you do with your real estate license to get paid? So you're going to be employed by somebody. Typically, the seller is who's obligated to pay the commission, but we're also going to talk about how a buyer could be obligated to pay a commission as well. But how a typical type of commission structure works is, so let's assume that you've got somebody that wants to sell their property. You've got somebody that wants to sell their property. They're thinking about selling it. They call you up. They say, hey, John, I hear you're the expert in real estate. I want you to come help me sell my property. And you say, great. So you go out to their house. You explain to them what it is that they're going to do. Take a look at the house. Give them a recommendation of what it would probably sell for. And then it comes time for that question of, well, how much is this going to cost me for you to sell my house? And so this is where some commission math comes in. Now, again, what we're doing is we're brokering the deal. We're not the seller. We're not the buyer. We're bringing these people together and getting this property sold. So let's say we've got a property that would sell for, we'll use $300,000. That's about an average price home in Hillsborough County. I think last time I checked is $280,000. We'll call it $300,000 to keep the math nice and simple here. So let's say that we sell the property. We have a sale price of $300,000. So $300,000 sale price, and you would negotiate with this seller the commission rate that is being charged for brokering this deal. And let's say that this is we'll say 6% commission rate. Maybe you negotiate more, maybe they negotiate less, but let's just call it 6% here. So 6% on $300,000 would end up being $18,000. So $18,000 would be the gross commission for this property. Now, there's a lot of other questions that kind of go along with this. This isn't the only cost a seller would have when they're selling their property. They might be selling it for $300,000. They might have a mortgage where they still have a balance on. They'll have the commission, of course. Maybe there's some other closing cost and fees, the stamp tax and the deed, property tax prorations, and all kinds of things like that. So when you're actually practicing real estate and you're presenting this commission, yes, they'll probably want to know what rate it is that you're charging, especially if they're comparing you to multiple different brokerage companies and multiple real estate agents. You might be negotiating off of this, but what a lot of agents don't do is tell them the full picture. They don't give them a complete breakdown of how much money they're actually going to walk away with. There's something known as a net sheet. And a net sheet not only includes your commission that you're charging, but also an estimated breakdown of all the cost and fees it's going to cost them to sell the property and really get down to how much money it is they're going to walk away with. And that net sheet is a really powerful tool because it answers that question of how much money am I going to walk away with? Because when a seller doesn't know how much money they're going to walk away with, they might see, 6%, $18,000. Wow, does that leave me anything left? And even if they're not directly asking you that question, they're thinking it. So you're shooting yourself in the foot when you're not using one of those net sheets to show them the whole picture of an estimated breakdown of how much they would walk away after you charge them this money. Now, the other thing they might say is, well, $18,000, that sounds like a lot of money. I have to pay you $18,000 to sell my home? And, it'd be great if that whole $18,000, every penny of it was coming to us. But in real estate, it could maybe potentially all come to us, and we'll talk about how. But in most real estate sales, especially in residential, there's something we call the MLS, the Multiple Listing Service. And so the MLS has actually got a pretty interesting history. If you're in real estate today, you think of the MLS as a database of properties available for sale that tell you how much you'll get paid if you sell them. But the MLS actually dates back to the origins of it, at least, back to the late 1800s. So before we had computers, and before that, there were like books of listings that you would subscribe to see what properties are in the MLS essentially. But really this started back in the late 1800s. And if you were to practice real estate in the late 1800s, first off in Florida, we didn't even have any real estate licensing laws until like the 1920s. So if you wanted to practice real estate, you just went and practice real estate. Maybe you found somebody to apprentice under or something like that, but there wasn't any formal process for the most part of getting a real estate license, like I said, until like the 1920s in Florida. So the way you sold real estate, and this is probably why they didn't have a licensing process, is because it wasn't as advantageous as it is today. Because the way you sold real estate is you'd have a house, you'd go to this seller, and you negotiate, let's say this $18,000 or whatever the case may be, and then what you would do is you would hold open houses every day until you get that property sold. And then once you get that property sold, you move on to the next one. And then you hold open houses every day until you get that property sold. And what ended up happening is this took such a long time. Eventually, someday, two brokers got together and said, hey, if I bring you a buyer, would you split your commission with me? If I bring you a buyer, would you split your commission with me? And the agent the broker that finally got this ball rolling probably said, yeah, I'm so sick of trying to sell this house. If you could bring me the buyer, I'll give you half. And to this day, here we are in 2019, that's the way most transactions end up closing and selling, is where there's ultimately two brokerages, one representing the seller and one representing the buyer. So in 2019, fast forward to today, when you get the seller to sign off, and we'll go back to explaining this to the seller of how this whole breakdown works, but when you get the seller to sign off that, let's say they're paying you a 6% commission, there's also going to be a portion in your listing agreement that breaks down how much of that you would share with somebody if another broker sells the property. So you're here representing the seller, and then in theory, there probably is going to be another broker representing the buyer. And the reason why that is when we get this agreement signed. We'll go back to our office, and either ourselves or our administrative assistant or whoever is going to put that into the MLS, the multiple listing service. And not only, again, is this a massive database of properties available for sale, it goes again back to the origin of this. It's a cooperative system. It's a system based on cooperation. It's a system based on people helping each other. So now, maybe you have some buyers that you're working with. And if you find the buyer for this property, you don't have to split your commission with anybody. So we'll talk about a breakdown too between a sales associate and a broker, but there would be no split here if you represent both sides of the sale. Sometimes they might call it double-ending the contract or getting both ends of the contract. You're getting the selling end and the buying end. And that happens, it's just less common than when another broker finds the buyer. And the reason why is when you put this property in the MLS, this goes out to every broker that has a buyer that's searching for a property where your property might meet the criteria. And so a lot of times this is split, and it's again typically a 50-50 split, although you do actually specify this in the listing agreement. So maybe you had charged 7% commission and you're keeping 4% and then paying the cooperating broker 3%, or again, however it is that you're splitting that up. You could do that right there in the listing contract, but let's just assume it's a 50-50 split here. So what that ends up having here is $9,000 going into each brokerage. $9,000 going into each brokerage. Because you're representing the seller, you're representing the buyer. And so going back to our presentation of this commission to the seller and ultimately persuading them to pay us whatever it is that we're asking them to pay us, they're not just paying us. This is the gross commission it is that they're paying, which in reality what they're doing is they're paying somebody to negotiate against them. But ultimately they do offer that commission to incentivize a broker to bring a buyer to this property. And now there are ways to be employed by the buyer, and you're not supposed to steer people based on commission as a brokerage, but we'll talk about that in a little bit as well, antitrust laws and things like that. But ultimately, this is, again, the most common way that property ends up getting sold. You representing the seller, somebody else representing the buyer, and the commission gets split 50-50. But now the question is, what if you're a sales associate? What if you're a sales associate, and the question is, do you walk away with this full $9,000 here, or what other cost might you have that eats away at this $9,000, and how much money do you really actually walk away with? And that's what we're going to be answering next. But first, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Stick with us. I'm John Christmo. You're watching Ask the Instructor.
The most powerful tool to study for your real estate exam is the Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate. We've used our years of experience in preparing students for the Florida real estate exam to bring you the most powerful exam study tool available. In the Question Simulator, you'll be able to go directly to a particular unit so you can focus on the sections where you need the most practice. We have also included the percentages of each unit so you know which units are the most important for your real estate exam. Every question will immediately give you detailed feedback, which is almost always more important than the question or the answer themselves. After completing all the questions in a particular unit, you can go through question by question and review any that you've gotten wrong. You could also print out a report at the end of each quiz. The Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate is 100% mobile compatible, so you can practice with test questions anywhere you have your phone with you. Enroll now at questionsimulator.com and get ready to pass your exam.
And welcome back to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. My name is John Christmo. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here every Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern Time. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that little like and subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell icon so you get notifications whenever it is that we go live, so you don't miss out on any of this great information we deliver every single day to help you develop a successful real estate career, because that's ultimately our goal, to help you become successful in real estate and achieve your dream real estate career. But it really all starts with understanding how you get paid. Is there even opportunity for success? And that's where the numbers come in, doing this math. This is the one type of math that hands down no one ever complains about doing. So this is actually some math you'll learn in a pre-licensing course if you're obtaining your real estate license, of calculating this exactly. This could be a potential exam question you have on your class and state exams to get your real estate license, along with a lot less exciting questions about laws and things like that. But this is probably one of the most exciting concepts of your pre-licensing course because it really shows you the potential and the opportunity that exists from having your real estate license. Now, the question that I left you with before we went on break is, are you going to walk away with this full $9,000? And the answer is no. Now, you might get close to $9,000, and we're going to talk about a commission split you would have with a broker. So if you're a sales associate, that's the initial license that you get in real estate. You initially get a sales associate license, but as a sales associate, you have to associate yourself with a broker in order to broker deals. Now, you're still your own boss. You're an independent contractor. You get to, set your own schedule, unlimited earning potentials, and all that other stuff. But you do have a broker that's going to be there to ensure not only that you comply with laws and rules and you're doing everything legally, but really that you have a broker, and this is what you ultimately want to look for, that's going to help you achieve that success, that's going to be part of your plan, rather than you just being part of their plan. And so we'll talk about some different options that exist, but there's typically a commission split that you would have, although there are 100% brokers out there, and we'll talk about those in a second. So let's say this $9,000 here, that you're representing the seller, and if $9,000 comes into your brokerage office, so this is at the office level here, how much money that would be coming in. Now the question is, how much money goes to you as the associate, and how much money does the broker keep? You can't earn any compensation for real estate services unless you're active with a broker, because if you do something wrong, you've got nobody watching over, and the FREC does not allow that. Now, if you ultimately want to become a broker, you could do that, but you have to have at least 2 years experience under a broker. And once you've got 2 years experience under a broker, you're eligible to get your broker license. And you could actually start your own brokerage where, minus some expenses that you'll probably have marketing the property and things like that, you'd be walking away with this full commission here, and you wouldn't have to split it with anybody because you are the broker. So that's an opportunity for you down the road, but it starts off with being a sales associate under a broker for at least 2 years before the state of Florida qualifies you to become your own broker. So let's say that you've got what's known as a 70-30 commission split. So before, up here between the two offices, we were talking about 50-50. That your office gets 50%, the other office representing the buyer gets 50%, but then within your office, you also have your broker in place. And this one's a pretty common commission split where you end up with 70% and your broker ends up with 30%. Now, there are commission splits that are higher than this. 80-20, 90-10, and there's even 100%, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But then there's also commission splits that are lower than this and get much lower than this. You might have 60-40, 50-50. If you join some sort of real estate team, maybe you're only getting 15, 20, maybe even only 10% of that total commission because you're responsible for a small part of the transaction or whatever the case may be. So if we do the math on this here, where the broker keeps 30%, that means the broker out of this $9,000 would end up keeping $2,700, which would leave you keeping $6,300. Now, $6,300, that's still a lot of money. But when you compare that to $9,000, you're like, man, why does that broker get $25,000? Why is the broker taking $2,700 of my commission? And that's the way most people look at this initially. But as a new agent, what you want to look for in a broker, and brokers will be hunting you down once you have your real estate license. Even before you have your real estate license, just after applying, they go get this information from the state of Florida of who's trying to get a real estate license, and they're out there sending you postcards and letters and emails and phone calls and everything they possibly could to get you recruited to them, because ultimately brokers have two ways of making money. Either they're a competing broker, which means that they're actually selling real estate themselves, or they're a broker who makes money off of their agents. And really that's the way the brokerage model is set up to be, is that this broker has these agents and they're making money off the agents. Now, you might say, well, why don't I just go work for a competing broker? And if you get past the whole competing thing, the idea of competition, because there's so much business out there, it's not the issue that your broker would be competing with you, because you probably wouldn't go head to head where you're competing for the same client, but it's the fact that if you have a competing broker isn't there to serve and support you. They're not there to earn whatever commission split it is that they're taking. So that's the way it is that you want to look at this. That yes, the broker may be taking 30%, maybe $2,700. You better make sure that you're getting 30% of value from that broker. Think of it this way. Is the broker helping you put $6,300 in your pocket? Because what's 100% of zero? 100% of zero is nothing. So you might be in a 100% type of situation, and let's say that this buyer's agent over here, the buyer's agent works at a 100% broker. So at a 100% broker, maybe they have some sort of transaction fee. Let's assume there's like a $300 transaction fee. So for the broker, there's $300 that go to them, and then the remaining $8,700 goes to the buyer's agent. Now, if I were to ask you this, what would you prefer? $8,700 or $6,300, what would you tell me? Of course, you'd want $8,700. But really the question it is that you're going to ask is, what do you need? As a new agent, this usually is not an ideal situation to be in, because what I like to say is that 100% brokerage, you're 100% on your own. And that's generally the case for most of these brokers that are set up this way, that maybe they just charge a small transaction fee, maybe a small monthly fee, but they allow you to register your license there, and they don't have any commission split. They might just have, again, just some transaction fee or monthly fee, which, yes, you end up with more money in your pocket here, but as a new agent, do you know what you're doing? Do you know how to actually make money? Whereas in the split model, now, this isn't, these again are generalizations, and this is why it's important to, especially taking post-licensing as soon as possible. You can take that as soon as you have your license, because post-licensing focuses more on building out a business plan and actually really building your business, as opposed to the pre-licensing to get your license. That's the laws and rules you need to know to pass your real estate exam. So, taking that post-licensing course, you'll start to see, okay, this is my target market. This is who I want to go after. These are the systems that I need. This is what I have to put in place. And then what is this broker doing that wants to have a 30% commission split where they're taking 30%? What are they doing? What do they offer that earns them that 30%? And that's what's going to really help you make the right decision when you're choosing a broker. Now, ultimately what happens a lot of times is agents that start out on a commission split, they'll end up transitioning a lot of times to one of these 100% brokerages where they get to keep all their money, because they know what they're doing and they don't necessarily need that large split type of broker. Agents will outgrow this very quickly once they start closing some deals, and they generally move over here to the 100% broker, and that's absolutely possible for you to do. So just because you joined a broker doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be at that brokerage forever. Agents change brokers every single day. It happens quite often. And there are some strings attached to leaving and changing brokers and things like that if you have pending deals, the property of the broker, and things like that. But ultimately, you could make this change pretty much no problem, other than if you have any business that's pending and waiting to close here, which you probably want to make sure you wait till it closes and maybe convince your broker to pay you out even after you leave for those ones that have closed. But as a new agent, and that's what you want to focus on first and foremost. How do I get my first so ever many deals closed? Ultimately, in the long run, once you know what you're doing, this is a better situation to be in, because you ultimately end up with more money. But that being said, there's a lot of experienced agents that have been in the business for 10, 20 years that are at a split brokerage because they get immense value for whatever it is that commission split is. And a lot of times they have this where you cap out and things like that. So this gets a lot more complicated than what it is. But ultimately, when you're choosing a broker to figure out, okay, which situation do I want to be in, because you might be also comparing this to a broker that takes 40% or a broker that takes 20% or maybe only 10%. And again, it's that question of, what do I need, and does this broker offer it? Again, thinking of what are they doing to help put that $6,300 or whatever that number is in your pocket versus what it is they're taking out of your pocket. Because if all they're doing is taking $2,700 and you're getting zero value, then no, that is not the place to be. So they're there to help guide you, train you, mentor you, and get you ready to actually close deals. And it'd be real simple if there's just a one-size-fits-all brokerage for everybody, but there's not. It really depends on what it is that you're doing in real estate. And that's why, again, it's so important that you get that post-licensing course done as soon as possible, because that's where you're starting to learn, again, more of this real-world stuff, developing a business plan, figuring out how you're going to find your first clients, how you're going to close your first deals, how to present an offer. That's one of the big contrasts I like to make, that it really kind of shows the big difference between your class to get your real estate license, the pre-licensing. You're going to learn about contract law, what makes something a valid contract, and some of the basics of the different contracts that we use. Whereas in post-licensing, you're learning now, how do I present this contract? Not what needs to be in the contract, but how do I present this contract? And you can, again, take this course as soon as you've got your real estate license, and the sooner you take this, ultimately, the better prepared you'll be to actually go out there and start closing deals. Now, this is if the seller is employing us. This is if the seller's employing us. We got that seller to agree to pay a 6% commission. And that's the contract that we use for that is called a listing agreement. A listing agreement. And this employs our brokerage by the client with the agreement that they're paying 6% or whatever it is that we negotiate if we get this property sold. But we could also use what's known as a buyer brokerage agreement. And a buyer brokerage agreement, these are far less utilized than listing agreements. Every listing out there, agents get a listing agreement signed. But not always do people get a buyer brokerage agreement signed when they're working with a buyer. And the reason why a lot of agents don't get a buyer brokerage agreement signed is they might say, oh, well, I'm already going to get paid. As long as I sell a property in the MLS, I'm going to get paid according to what the MLS says. And that's one way to go about it. But really the benefit of that buyer brokerage agreement is you're getting a client to sign on to using your services. You're getting somebody to sign on with you. And what this does is this, just like with a listing presentation you give to a seller to tell them what it is that you're going to do to get the house sold, the commission rate it is you're charging and everything like that, but there's expectations put into place. The last thing you want to do when you're practicing real estate is have a buyer call you up and say, hey, John, I saw that 123 Main Street is for sale. When can I come take a look at it? We're interested in this property. And then you just go show them 123 Main Street. Because what happens there is they don't understand that we're not working for the seller. This might not even be our listing. This might just be a property that's in the MLS that we have access to. And that's what's really great about real estate sales is even though this is a sales type of profession and a sales industry, we're really just there to reassure them that they're making the right decision, to help them find that right property and that right decision faster, and reassure them that this is the right decision and guide them through this process to getting to the actual closing of the property here. So that's what we're really doing here. We're reassuring them through all this. But when we just take that call and they say, hey, I want to go see 123 Main Street, and we say, okay, cool, yeah, I'll meet you there at 1 o'clock, and we go show them 123 Main Street, if they don't like it, they probably don't want to tell us because they don't even understand how this process works. They maybe think that we're the seller of the property, and even if they know we're not the seller, they're associating us with the seller, and they don't want to be open and honest with us because what reason do they have to be open and honest with us? What reason do they have to open up to us? So really the better way to handle that is set up a consultation appointment. Hey, yeah, that's great. We could definitely take a look at that property. Let's have you stop into my office today at 1 o'clock. It's at 1234 Main Street. We'll stop in there at 1 o'clock, we'll go over some information, and we'll get you out there to go see that property. It's just like you go to test drive a car at a car dealer. I mean, at the very least, they're probably going to go scan your driver's license before you go just hop in a car. You're not going to call up a car dealer and says, hey, I want to go test drive a Lamborghini, and you just say, okay, I'll be at the Lamborghini at 1 o'clock, and you just hop in and let them drive it off and then let them go. No, you've got to build a relationship. And I hate using car dealers as an example with this because the thing with like car dealer sales and most sales for that matter is you're selling a single product. You got a single brand that you're selling and that's it. And if they don't like that brand, there's nothing you could do. Whereas in real estate, they don't like this house, you could show them another house. And this is such a big difference than most sales that we're doing brokerage, that we're not working directly for the seller, that we could bring them to any property that exists out there. This makes it a lot less salesy. Where again, we're reassuring them. Don't get me wrong, it still is sales, but we have infinite amount of options basically. And it's just a matter of us making sure that this is going to be the right option for them. And that's why it's so much more important to do a consultation. And again, that's where the buyer brokerage agreement will come in, to get all this in writing, to get it locked in. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but stick with us. I'm John Christmer. You're watching Ask the Instructor. Have you completed your post-licensing education yet? Look, I know you're probably thinking, hey, it's not my renewal deadline. I don't need to do post-licensing yet. But look, here's why you want to do post-licensing as soon as you've got your real estate license, as soon as you're able to take post-licensing. It's not just another course about arbitrary laws that you're never going to use again. It's about real-world, usable topics that'll help you grow your real estate business, to help you take it to the next level. Look, let me ask you this one question. If this course helps you close just one deal, if you get one extra deal from post-licensing, is it worth the investment? I'd say it is. We get paid pretty well, so one deal means a lot of money. Check out postflorida.com. That's postflorida.com for the full details about post-licensing. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor, where today we're talking about commission, we're talking about money, we're talking about getting paid with a real estate license. And a big misconception that not only aspiring real estate agents have, but also the general public, is that we're maybe somehow the buyer or the seller. And that's really the big part of this last segment here, is we're not just the buyer, we're not just the seller, we're the middleman, we're the in-between. Which, again, really differentiates us from a lot of different sales professions, because a lot of sales professions, think of like a car dealer or almost anywhere you go buy something, they have a single product or maybe just a single brand that they could sell you. And if you want a competing brand, oh, well, you know, that you don't want that brand because of this. Whereas if somebody comes to us and we show them one house, but they don't like it, hey, that's fine. Let's go find them another house that they do like. We've got access to all the properties in the MLS. We can show you any of these properties, even if it's a property that's not in the MLS. Maybe it's a for sale by owner. Maybe it's something from a home builder. Look, that's something that's really popular as well. People buying brand new construction homes, that they want something brand new. And then the question is, well, do we get paid if we're representing them in that case? And the answer is yes. And even if you went into this without a buyer brokerage agreement, which I don't recommend, you would still end up getting paid typically when you're going to a home builder. And home builders typically pay higher commissions than any other seller. But we could go sell, you know, whatever new construction home it is that we want. Well, you could be a new construction specialist working under a broker. Now you're not tied to a single developer. That's the benefit really of working for a broker as opposed to an owner developer. That's another option you have as well. Another way you can get paid in real estate is you could go work for an owner developer. And if you work for an owner developer, the benefit there is it's a little bit more like a career, more like a job, as opposed to like running your own business. Because working for a developer, you're getting some sort of salary, some sort of base pay, plus commission on top of that. But the drawback is you're limited to only selling for an owner developer. So when you do work at an owner developer, that's a little bit more traditional type of sales, where you work for, let's say, ABC Homes. And you work for ABC Homes, you can only sell ABC Homes. Whereas if you work for a broker, instead of an owner developer, and again, this is the route that is more where it's building your own business, where you have the unlimited income potential, where you're really in control of things, even despite having to work under a broker, you're still an independent contractor, you're still in control of things. But now you could go show them ABC Homes and they say, oh, well, you know, ABC Homes is nice, but we really want to also see XYZ Homes. Now, we don't have to stop them from looking at XYZ Homes. You can say, yeah, let's go take a look at XYZ Homes. Now, most of the time, home builders are welcoming us with open arms and are paying great commission rates to us to bring them clients. And the reason why we could actually get somebody a better deal than if they were to go there on their own, despite us being paid a commission, is if you think of somebody going to ABC Homes, going to this home builder on their own, if they go to ABC Homes because they're interested in buying a new construction home with ABC Homes, how many deals does this person represent to ABC Homes? The answer is just one. One deal. So are they going to give them the best deal? Probably not, because it's just one deal. But with us as a real estate professional, as a sales associate or a broker, they want to roll out the red carpet for us so we keep bringing them clients. And they'll give our clients better deals than a single client would be because, again, we represent multiple contracts to them, not just a single deal. And again, that's because we're brokering this. But then, again, if they don't like that home builder, we could take them to another home builder. And this is the importance of the buyer brokerage agreement, because in case you do come across a home builder that does not offer any commission, which Currently, I don't know of any in the Tampa Bay area that are that case, but I wouldn't put it past them that there aren't some out there. Maybe in your market there are builders that don't automatically pay you a commission, which is again why you want a buyer brokerage agreement in place, because we're ultimately there to help them through this process. Now, if you sign a buyer brokerage agreement with a buyer, that the buyer is obligated to pay you a 3% commission if you help them find them home within the specified parameters of this buyer brokerage agreement, then ultimately they are responsible for that commission. But if we're already in a situation like this, where let's say we have them sign an agreement that says they've got to pay 3%, but we go take them to a property where we're already being offered 3% because half of this was 3% and 3% going to each side here. So if we take them to a home builder that's already paying 3%, or any seller that's already paying 3%, they don't owe us anything more. But in case maybe they're buying a for sale by owner property, or maybe you're dealing with a developer that does not offer any sort of commission, then this will be a closing cost for them, that they're obligated to pay that, and it is a closing cost for them. And we can always amend this as necessary later if really push comes to shove and we need to get the deal done to ultimately get our clients taken care of. But that buyer brokerage agreement, at the very least, you want to have this buyer brokerage agreement so you have the opportunity to sit down with them and explain to them what it is that you're going to do for them and what it is that you expect out of them. So that way there's clear expectations going into this. They know we're not the seller or the buyer of any single property. We can take them to any property, whether it's a new construction home, whether it's any property that's listed in the MLS, or even if it's an off-market property that's not in the MLS, we could try to negotiate the best price for them still. And again, having that buyer consultation with a buyer brokerage agreement is something that is definitely underutilized in the real estate industry, because a lot of agents just don't know that it's a really good thing to have. And really all the additional benefits you get other than just having them locked in to using you and locked in to earning a commission. But anyways, that's really how you get paid in real estate for the most part. And there are odds and ends ways where you can maybe make some money doing some other little things. You can maybe be a rental agent as well. That's usually a really easy way to make some money in real estate. If you've got any apartment communities or anything like that pay maybe just a couple $100, but in the Tampa Bay area, there's a handful of apartment communities that'll pay maybe a half a month's rent, or maybe a full month's rent, or maybe 2 or even 3 months of rent as a commission for you bringing them a renter. And that's a real quick and easy commission to earn, because it doesn't take as much work to get somebody to rent a property as it would buying a property. Typically, the buying commissions or selling commissions are going to be much higher than rental commissions, but there's significantly less work required typically dealing with rentals. So there's so many ways it is that you can make money. Again, commission is probably the biggest way you make the big bucks, but there's a lot of ways, again, you could also make some money in real estate. Look, that's about all the time we've got for today. If you still have questions on, if maybe real estate is the right career path for you, or maybe you're thinking about getting a real estate license, you're not sure, or maybe you have your real estate license and you're thinking, oh, he said take post licensing so I could figure out what I'm doing, I better go sign up for that. Whatever the case may be, we're here to help you. We've got advisors standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way it is that we can. We've got a lot of great information to help you get your real estate career started, so give us a call. The phone number is 813-333-2676. Again, that's 813-333-2676. We've got classroom courses, we've got online courses, we've got tons of free videos out there as well. So if you liked what you watched today, again, make sure you hit the thumbs up like button, but also check out tampaschool.com/success. You'll find all of these Ask the Instructor and State of Real Estate videos in there, as well as a bunch of calculators, articles, things like that. There's even a commission calculator, a business plan calculator that helps you figure out if you want to make this much money a year, this is what you've got to do. That's a big component of post licensing as well, as figuring that all out. So look, I know it seems like a lot, but we're here to help guide you through this process. We've done this for thousands of students before, and we could do it for you. So give us a call, 813-333-2676. Again, 813-333-2676. It's all the time I've got for today, and I'll see you guys for State of Real Estate on Friday. Hey, so if you're thinking about starting a real estate career, it could feel a little overwhelming sometimes. Look, that's completely understandable. That's why we're here to help. If you haven't already, check out our Success Center, tampaschool.com/success, or if you don't even know where to begin, give us a call. We'd love to help you out. We've got advisors standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way it is that we can. Our phone number is 813-928-0106. Again, that's 813-928-0106. Give us a call. We're the Tampa School of Real Estate.
Do you want a career that allows you to be in control? With a career in real estate, you'll get to call the shots. Whether you're looking at starting part-time or want to become the next top agent, a career in real estate makes it possible. Find out what it takes at tampaschool.com. Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com. Are you thinking about a career in real estate? Hey, I'm John Chrisma with the Tampa School of Real Estate, and we've helped thousands of people just like you obtain their real estate license. If you're thinking about a career in real estate, give us a call. The phone number is 813-928-0106. Our advisors are standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way they can. Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.